everyone, welcome back to the All Hallows League 2025 lower bracket, and it's going to be Team Desperate and Team Mercy. First set initially on the shape on the AHL special balancing of Myers. Desperate going to be taking killer first, Mercy going to be surviving first. And it was, as was said earlier, we're going to see a little bit of movement on the desk. Outcast Andrew is gone, but I am joined by Snipes.
Hello. I am glad to be back on the desk with you here, Egdar. And some exciting sets here. You know, Desperate and Mercy both showing like phenomenal results throughout the qualifiers, and even when they were in the upper bracket. Mancer coming out on the killer, as we see typically from Desperate. He has played killer for every single one of their sets, and he has shown how versatile he is.
That he has. Yeah, that he definitely has. The tail of the tape in terms of both these teams coming here. Mercy got dispatched up pretty quickly by Reassure 3-0. Desperate was able to catch Elysium. Obviously, it ended up losing to them, but was able to take a set off of them in something which was a bit unexpected, maybe a precursor to what we eventually saw. And well, right now what we can see is MER screaming. I agree, Myers is quite intimidating an individual, but we're looking at now to see exactly what Mancer can get done. Had the Slaughtering Strike charged up, made a lot of distance, and actually forced to M1. I feel like that's a similar kind of vibe to when you force like a Billy or a Bubba to M1 you. It's like, okay, at least there's an injury on the board, sure, but you know, it's not really what you want as the Myers. You want to get that insta down, take advantage of that dash. So we'll see exactly what else can be made of this chase.
We're actually doing a really good job here, and we actually outrun the Evil Incarnate completely. We are going to pre-drop this pallet, and now we're at a very unsafe pallet. It's a 50-50 here, and Merch is playing it super well. Man's trying to get this mind game, and the Bloodlust 2 is coming in, so that is probably going to be a down. And just know the greed coming out from Merch is so well, and just still not dropping the pallet, and it's actually going to run away. Bloodlust 3 is now going to be kicking in, so that haste is going to be catching up. But I mean, beautiful job there from Merch. We see the first gen popping, and I'm sure we're going to see another gen here soon. We see Unforeseen on Mancer, so that is going to be interesting coming in later on, and I'm curious to see how they're going to outplay the survivors here.
I was told coming into this that I was told coming into this that Mercy had some juices, but like that's some crazy level of juice that we saw there. So from Mert, so Mancer definitely struggling in the first down department after that one. 226 is when it came out. Myers' average in the AHL set is 119. So we're looking at like well over a minute worth of time that has been bought by Merc, which the survivors would not normally have. So we should be seeing a pretty decent result set up by these survivors, especially if we can keep spreading pressure. You know, Scroily is going to be the next individual to take chase, and the finesse he was able to just about dodge out a hit there, force a regular pallet break. And yeah, Mancer's looking a bit kind of lost here as another gen's been completed by the survivors.
So much time has been bought, and now we see a survivor here at the portal room, and Mancer trying to get that stock through, but it looks like it might just be leaving and trying to find another one. That unhook came out really quickly, and so now Mancer not going to be able to find that tunnel out here onto Merch. Could be rough, but after these changes to Myers, you know, he's gotten definitely a lot stronger than what he was before. And with that churn rate, being able to basically 180 in your slaughtering strike can be completely deadly. And now we are going to be seeing that Unforeseen kicked onto this gen, and maybe catching some survivors off guard here in this upper floor. Thailand is now taking chase here, and very 99 stock here, and we are going to be seeing that Evil Incarnate. It is now 60 seconds now instead of 40 seconds. A fake on the slaughtering strike, very nice. And are we going to see this down? Beautiful 50-50s here from Tyleon, and it's actually going to win it. So the pallet will be broken, and chase will continue. The down is not going to happen, and now we have a really strong room, especially when you come from this side. Mancer is just going to have to break this pallet as a third generator is complete for only one hook state. And now Mancer is going to be forced to leave. He knows this generator is being worked out before, and he has to leave and try and pressure these generators off. But the survivors' comms are beautiful right now. I expect them to pre-leave, and now it's looking more and more brutal here for Mancer.
Even when there are like, even when Mancer like is, you know, completely just in another dimension and no one has eyes on him, the survivors still seem so like keenly aware. And the problem is right now when you're in this evil incarnate mode, you have the regular terror radius now. Unforeseen kicks will help with that a little bit, but you're gonna run out of evil incarnate, so you have to get that all the way back now. And it's just gonna be like a forced M1 onto Tyleon. And it's like, okay, sure, but Tyleon just runs away off the back of it, and so much distance that's going to be made. And during all of this, you know, what Tyleon's calling like is on me. I'm going, you know, here, I'm playing like this palette over at 12 or like whatever, right? Hit does come through. That can happen to you on occasion as Survivor. There's not really a cross-ping difference here. Sorry, Mercy going to be predominantly from all areas of Europe, while Desperate are a mostly Russian team. So ping's not going to be much of an issue, but all the gens are completed, which is not what we've been seeing recently. At least not in the last MER set that we saw today of 2 4K2s coming out. But, you know, Mercy, they were juicing up for sure.
Yeah, now we are taking chase onto Scarlet, but those X gates are going to be open. I wonder if maybe Bandit is going to be rotating around for Tyleon, or if they're just going to take that 4 stage. Yeah, they're just going to be leaving and taking that 4 stage. A very, very
4 stages, like, yeah, you take that.
I mean,
you take would you rather have $1 or $2? And they chose $2. It's a crazy debate. I still haven't checked chat as to how they answered our what is a dash debate from earlier. I'm not sure if you were around for that, Snipes, but it was an intriguing discuss because we had so much downtime before the Myers 1v1, and we were discussing the concept of dash slop, and then we got. So now I'm asking your opinion, right? Is Wraith lunge out of invis a dash or not?
I would say yes. I mean, I would say it's because he has that speed boost and that like extra lunge, so it's a bit of a dash. It's. I mean, you see it all the time in 1v1s where they're
so is
have
coup
that
de,
palette
so
control.
is the use of so does the use of coup de grace make every killer a dash killer?
I guess you could say that actually. Yeah,
you see what I mean? This is an absolutely horrible question to be asking. But back to the topic at hand, which is Team Mercy. Again, I'm not going to say like unknowns as we go a bit more kind of in depth into their rosters as we have the time, but for Mercy, it's one of the couple of teams where it's like a bit of a pick and choose from areas of Europe. You know, they're similar to teams like Orison or Mercy, or I guess on the higher end, teams like Praxis, where it is basically just pick and choosing from the region of Europe as a whole. Bandit and Scroily, both from the UK. Bandit, I believe, representing England and Team UK in the recent DBD World Cup. And then you have Tyleon and Hope from Germany. And then Merkt, Ilo, and Bill Non Grata from France, Denmark, and Lithuania, respectively. So again, a big European kind of super fest of players there. Compare that to Team Desperate, who are an entirely Russian team with the exception of Rainfall from Ukraine. So it's quite interesting to see how these teams can come together, especially for a team like Mercy, where you have players whose first language wouldn't be necessarily English versus players which would only speak English. And the fact that they're still able to communicate so fantastically despite that, definitely a lot of credit over to Mercy for that one, especially on a Myers set like that, where, you know, communication is everything. But also, realistically, at the end of the day, I feel like that was a set which was not necessarily decided, but determined quite early on by Merkt having an absolute juicer of a chase. And that's what it's all about, right? You have to win the 4v1, but to win the 4v1, you also have to win your 1v1s. And Merkt was winning a hell of a lot of 1v1s.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of 50s that he won at very unsafe pallet there in the middle of the map was just incredible to see, and the absolute greed comes in from, and when the Bloodlust 2 come in, I thought he was for sure going to drop that pallet, and he just kept greeting it, and he just played it so beautifully and just bided so much time. And at that point, Mancer, it felt like the game was just slipping from his grasp.
Hmm. Yep. So we should be loading into the next trial very, very shortly. Of course, this was the pick of Team Desperate. So again, it will be similar to what we saw last time, where it's never ideal to lose a set that you've picked. Though I also stick by what I said earlier about the fact that these AHL sets are still relatively new and relatively unknown. Not to tip anyone off about what we might see. It's actually not unknown today. All the sets are posted beforehand. But like it's still very much the case of the first two sets are up for interpretation, I'd say, as to who will win. I think the teams pick it more of vibes than necessarily, hard practice or scrims or anything. I'd be more interested when we get over into our gold standard sets, because we are guaranteed to see a pig set later, which, if I am reading correctly here, would be the first pig set that we've seen in AHL this split.
Very excited to see Pig and Amanda on the main stage, and so I'm really looking forward to seeing that later on, whether I'm casting it or not. But I mean, back to that AHL set, it's hard to kind of scrim and practice for these sets, considering, each team gets a map ban, right? So if you're practicing only, expecting it to be Hawkins, Myers, and the other team bans it, then you're kind of, out of luck there, and you have to prepare for another map. So it's a little bit of a difficult set to practice for, I would say.
Yeah, for sure. And so it is even, I think it's even more testament to like it's even more of a testament to the teams when they can perform so well in such a like weird off kilter set like this. It's all well and good to that, because I think that shows it's not just a matter of practice. I think it's a matter of being able to adapt on the fly and just be the fundamentally better team. When you're going over to a different rule set, you're going over to something strange. You can't just, have like a one-trick pony that you rely on. You can't have, okay, well, we'll always go to a guaranteed plague set and a guaranteed dredge set, and we just practice these more than the other team. So we'll win these two specifically while just sucking at everything else. The ability to do well in these sets shows your mettle as a team and your ability to adapt to new situations. Remember, the bouncing for these teams wasn't announced until I think quite quite late before the tournament. It wouldn't be more than like a month or so, which is a relatively limited amount of time to go on a whole new rule set, which even we're still learning as time goes on, compared to the gold standard set, which you've been scrimming for, basically since the game came out and when you were playing in diapers.
Yeah, I mean, that's your typical standard set here, and we are going to be loading into the next match. Desperate Survivors have a very steep win con. They cannot give up many stages here, and we see Merch, the juicer from the beginning of the trial, out on the killer, and I mean, it's no wonder why he juiced so hard. He's very familiar with how Myers works, and we actually see Rainfall not even being aware.
Uh-oh.
That is definitely not what you want to see, and we already see that slaughtering strike come out and already down. That is just pale in comparison compared to the first match.
27 seconds. 27 seconds is what Merst was able to achieve there, right? So that's already like kind of ridiculous. From our recall our average first down time of the 3-minute mark. The 3-minute mark, and so this is already a win for this is already a win for Mercy, right? I wish I had something a bit more pertinent to add in that sense, but we have the game to go on. A very early removal of Ruin there. Not something that I hate in the slightest. I'd like to probably get insight from the teams as to why they just don't cleanse Ruin early on, whether it's something to do with like gen kick perks, like Eruption or Call of Brine, or anything like that, right? We're going to get some aura reading on account of the Vanity Mirror add-on that we're seeing. So, Merged having a big kind of area of control right now, being able to spot out survivors with the aura reading, and also definitely going to be securing a second stage here.
Yeah, I mean, you get this early down, you kind of deserve it at this point, and I mean, with your win con being only 4 stages, it's kind of expected that Merch is just going to play for this win con here, and we do see Rainfall hitting second, so now Merch might branch out, and something we see a little bit different from this build, we see a lot more gen-heavy build coming out from Merch. You know, we saw Unforeseen and DMS, and Unforeseen, I said that as well, coming out from Mancer, but this is a lot more gen-heavy. I was surprised we didn't see any pain res from Mancer in the previous trial, but here Merch is going to be opting for that and getting a little bit of stock here, actually prepping that Evil Incarnate and now heading back towards Rainfall, maybe catch a Survivor off on the rotate, and we actually catch out Noob here. This is a very strong tile though, and yeah, I would not want to loop it. 2 gens now are being completed, but now Merch just with that Evil Incarnate in pocket is just going to be holding this kind of check spot area and seeing if any survivors are crossing to save Rainfall.
Yeah, it's the standard. Even though you technically could have gone for a chase onto Mansa, utilizing the Slaughtering Strike and the Evil Incarnate, like, you have the Expose in your back pocket, meaning no one can get the save, and you snowball off of the back of your 27-second first down. Remember, it's not just the first down that's so important, but it's also what the killer does with it. Nice flashbang is going to hit absolutely nothing, and I feel like these survivors are getting way too caught out, right? Like, Noob knew that Merch was coming. You could see the scratch marks. They definitely pre-ran for a while, but, like, just into nothingness, right? You're not sure whether it's just, you know, bad luck, but on a map which is as consistent as Hawkins is, there aren't really tons of variations. I just don't feel like survivors should be getting caught out this often.
I agree, and we almost got another Slaughtering Strike here on to Lumi, and now we're going for a 50-50, and actually doesn't break the pallet. That was a little bit shocking there, and now we're just going to continue this chase right next to the hook. This is just going to be a down, though, not able to make it to the window.
Risky
that
business.
That is the win, though. I mean, they had to do something to try and bring this back after that very, very quick down. But unfortunately, that is going to be the first set going to Mercy. Well played to them on both sides. I mean, they showed their expertise in this, and they showed they were pretty prepared, honestly, I would say.
Yeah, really good preparation. For Mansa, it's a case of try to be where the killer will not expect you to be. You have to do something here to try and maybe get Noob off the hook or Looney off the ground. Preferably Noob off the hook, try and prevent another stage going their way, but it's all going to be for nothing. And actually, a really good heads-up play for Merch. Wait until the second stage. May or may not have found our last survivor. And yeah, Mansa, like, even if you're able to somehow get the pull here, you'll be traded out. You will give the stage. No, we actually pick up Looney, which sounds good, but it's also reset Looney's wiggle progress completely. We run back into the killer. Not ideal, and something which Andrew was talking about in the last set was nerves on the survivor side. I think we're seeing this right now, right? You know, these desperate survivors. I don't use that as an insult. I use that as a literal descriptor. That's their team name. The desperate survivors are like making a lot of like uncharacteristic mistakes. I'm not going to say that Ace going down was a mistake per se. It was trying to utilize Breakout to, you know, get some value, get a wiggle off, but it's a high risk, high reward type situation. Except in this case, there was just no reward. There was only death. And 4K3 to what we're going to see. Not even a 4K2, but a 4K3. Obviously, you take that with a pinch of salt. The survivors play very differently when they have like a not ideal win con to play around, but the optics still don't look good. Like, we have 4 stages versus 4K3. That's about as one-sided as you can get.
Yeah, just a very, very strong result coming out here from Mercy. I mean, we went from a 4-stage to a 4K3. That was just absolutely incredible. But to piggyback off that ace play, going for the breakout value, I mean, we did see flip-flop and boil over on the Yoichi. I believe that was Noob, I think, who had it. And I mean, when you have a 4-stage win con, you have to try and do anything, and the risk on this, unfortunately, just did not pay off for them. But you know, you have more sets ahead of you. You can't let this first set get to you, otherwise that will be the downfall for Desperate here. So we're gonna be heading into this next set. Very excited.
Yep, as am I. So we're going to be thinking, what is the gimmick now? It's going to be Billy, which is something that we have seen. We have seen AHL Billy. We've seen it have differing amounts of success. Currently, an average 4K rate of 50%, but an average hook stage per game of like 8.5. So what that indicates to me is like we have seen Executioner pop off, but mostly because we've been seeing we've been seeing a variety of results, right? To 4K so often, but to only have like an 8 hook stage average sort of indicates that to me, right? So it'll be interesting to see as these teams get more closely matched as we go further and further through the tournament. Exactly exactly where the AHL Billy strength lies. You might be thinking, what is the gimmick? Indoor map, as well as a forced add-on, the Apex Muffler, which will silence the chainsaw for all survivors that are outside the terror radius. Aside from that, it's up to you whether you want to choose the iridescent engravings or the spiked boots. Eerie engravings are essentially a must pick when you're in a regular gold standard set. Like, even though the charge time increase isn't great, 20% movement speed buff is just far too much to give up. But some Billies also opt for spiked boots for increased turn speed during the sprint. It seems to be a matter of preference. I'm of the opinion that the more experienced you are on Billy, the more likely you are to go for the eerie engravings. You aren't necessarily needing the turn speed as much, but you know, preference can also just play a factor into it.
And given it's on Midwich, I mean, these long hallways, they did add the, like, clutter in the middle, so it's gonna be a little bit more difficult for, you know, the Billy players to maneuver in those hallways. But, I mean, I don't think you're gonna need much churn rate. I think that engraving speed is just too valuable, especially at some of these, you know, 50-50 pallets. And the question is, can these Billy players curve them? You know, I'm talking about those classroom ones where it's against the wall and it's basically a 50-50, but there is a little bit of, you know, debris sticking out. So I'm curious to see if we're going to see some really nasty curves coming out on these 50-50s.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, right? Really interesting map. You pointed out the hallways, which Billy is going to have no problem navigating. An already small map is going to feel down near claustrophobic against this killer, right? That being said, I think a small benefit, and I say a small benefit for survivors, is the Apex Muffler isn't going to provide tons and tons of value. Because it's such a small map and because it has 2 floors on it, survivors are going to be in the Billy's terror radius more often than not, right? That's why we see that Merch has brought along Trail of Torment, because you utilize that, and then you have a permanently silent chainsaw until that gen stops regressing, which is an utterly terrifying prospect. Rainfall going to be playing these kind of close quarter environments, and yeah, right there we can see one problem, which we might run into in Midwich. These tiles are not fun for Billy to play with.
Yeah, but Rainfall is already proving to be good, and actually that's Bounce Landing coming out, so actually going to be getting a lot more distance here as we make our way to the bottom side And now Merch might just be leaving this and trying to find some survivors working. We have no corrupt, so you know these survivors could hop on gens almost immediately, and we see, I believe this is Noob, yes, who is working this generator and actually going to be heading into the secret tunnel. Is Merch going to go for a mind game? And actually looks like Noob kind of got caught off guard here, but it will be this pallet, and that pallet is going to be dropping. But now zoned to this edge map, this is just going to be a back rev here and a down. And I mean, good patience here from Merch, just to confirm that, you know, don't want to get too trigger happy with that chainsaw. It can lead to some bumps and a lot of distance. And I mean, first chase, pretty solid, I would say. It was pretty average.
Yeah, if we get like an official stat check of it, 121 is going to be the down timer, and AHL Hillbilly thus far has actually had 59 seconds. So it's a slightly longer first chase than what we normally see from the survivors, but also we haven't seen Billy on Midwich specifically before, and we were saying earlier, like, a lot of the tiles on Midwich actually really suck for Billy. What you said earlier, really good point about patience, right? Because, like, the power is so, to put it bluntly, bad on a lot of these tiles, it is a lot better to play as patient as humanly possible for Merch. Like, you wait till you're in situations like this where, you know, you can get clean, easy hits because Looney, for whatever reason, is caught out in the open against the Hillbilly. You still have the undetectable from the Trail of Torment, and, you know, you're now going to be checking over on Noob. Ultimate weapon proc to try and find some survivors, but it's actually not going to get you anything.
And actually almost get a curve here on the Mancer, who is working this generator. A second gen pops, so we are going to be seeing that. Another attempt at a curve here from Merch just will not land, unfortunately. We see Looney get picked up, so now Merch knows where all the survivors are at. Rainfall is going to be building himself a house here, but actually Merch is going to be trying to cut this rotate off, and might just be camping Noob here to death.
Merch is still undetectable, and still has, like, a completely silent chainsaw. That being said, the survivors are taking good advantage of Noob's hang time on the hook right now to just bully out some generators, which is what it's all about. Now Merch seems to be in this one for the long haul, of just camping Noob out all the way to death. We are eventually, with Manta working on this top gen, going to get rid of that undetectable, but it's going to be just a bit too little too late. Quick little ultimate weapon to find where the survivors are. You do leave the hook, but you have to be a bit careful in a situation like this. Make sure that you've not been too hasty with your exit. But no, the survivor's not going for a save. You do secure your first kill. Now it's just a case of how much pressure can you exert on these survivors. Remember, the difference between 4K1 and 4K2 is massive, right? From Merc to 4K1, Merged, I should say, a 4K1 looks really, really achievable. 4K2, that's a bit trickier, but still possible.
You see some scratch marks here, and I believe this is Mancer working this window here, and now going to be heading towards the music room. Not a very safe pallet. However, this debris might prove difficult to curve around, and yes, Mancer is going to be able to get out, and actually goes down the hallway, and Merch loses him for slightly, which will just buy enough time for him to escape the chase. And now this is getting highly dangerous. But I mean, this 3v1, one down can cause trouble for the survivors of Desperate here. They need to play very, very patiently, and they need to play very safe, as we see a greed come out from Rainfall, who just crouches over that, and we are going to be seeing that pallet. And now here's what I was talking about. Can Merch curve this 50-50? I mean, the survivors will be stuck here. Actually, never mind. Rainfall just decides the W.
Yeah, honestly, like, I respect the attempt to these curves, I really do. I just kind of want to see the pallets broken and Merch to try and zone the survivors as much as possible. Like, I know that you need quick downs, but, you know, a slow down is better than no down at all, right? And it seems like we're actually going to see this gen get completed at the cost of Mancer's continued existence in this world. Now Looney, the injured survivor, could be taken down as well shortly.
bit of a traffic jam though. The gen does get complete and a very beautiful S-curve. Oh my goodness, that is what we've been waiting to see all match. Merch showing that they are going to be getting that ultimate weapon now, and we know where the last survivor is at. 4k1 looking even more and more possible. Mancer is going to be getting picked up here, but I mean, now it's going to be basically a back and forth and possibly going to be forcing the locker here. Yes, very smart here from Mancer. Good heads up play to force this locker, allow Rainfall to get over to Looney, get that pickup, and now 2 survivors are going to be back up running around and not in the same area, hopefully. Actually, Merch decided to drop Mancer.
Yeah, no, like, you want the slug here. This is conducive into getting a quick down onto Rainfall, who is pretty zoned out, and now you just have an injured Looney to find. We're going to see more trades come through. Looney going to immediately return right back to this pickup, but now, yeah, it's 2 injured survivors. They're both stuck in a room with absolutely no resources. It's game over. It's a 4k1, which has been achieved. Nice use of the worst palette in the world, sadly. Actually, the second worst palette in the world. The first, as we know, is on RPD. But trying to do what you can out of it, but of course doesn't fall for the stun, and now things should be all good for MER. Just still hot on the heels of wherever Mancer may be hiding out, and yeah, we have found it with these scratch marks.
Rainfall does get picked up, so again, an opportunity for maybe Desperate to pull this back, but I mean, it's just the more downs that are happening, it's just getting more and more like it's gonna be a 4k. However, we get this pickup here, and we're at the God palette, so I mean, the survivors of Desperate could bring this back, and that would be just incredible. Could they get 1 generator complete? It is possible. But I mean, given their current situation, it is looking very grim, I would say.
And so, yeah, we're going to see a pickup come through onto Rainfall now. Mancer going to make use of that double charge medkit, utilize one of those charges now. Interesting. Merch here going for the pickup. You're going over to the top floor. Hopefully you have enough time for this hook. That's greedy. That's really greedy from Merch. I can't even pretend to understand that play.
That is just not what you want to see. A stack of Grim Embrace is going to be denied here. We're going to be on to Looney with that undetectable of the Trail of Torment. We are at a very unsafe count, and he greeds, and that is just unfortunately going to be a down here for Looney. And now another hook coming out. This time, Merch is not going to be greeting it, and we'll just be taking it. And we are going to be seeing that Grim Embrace come out. These survivors. Also a Deadman switch. So both, there's all these generators are going to be blocked for just a little bit. Ultimate weapon coming out to maybe get some info. Beautiful info on this map, honestly, given how compact this map is.
Yeah, Darkness Revealed was the key choice before, but of course did get banned in the special balancing recently for being a bit too nuts. Ultimate weapon going to have a similar but slightly toned down effect, which is deemed more acceptable by the balancing team right now. Guess what? Merch is still undetectable, which is why this chainsaw is completely silent as he goes. It is utterly, utterly terrifying. You know, it silences everything outside the terror radius. Well, guess what? There's no terror radius, and you know the survivors have to be acutely aware that you know any movement they make could be intercepted by a chainsaw at any moment in time. We actually saw Rainfall was just near here, so going to be hiding out very carefully. And all it takes is 1 proc of ultimate weapon, and you have a pretty good idea of where the survivors are, or you just find the survivors that way instead.
This Infirmary God palette is going to be just getting pre-dropped and broken here. M1 coming out from Merch is going to be missing, and Merch is actually just going to be leaving this worried about this.
Even for a Grimstack?
That is interesting. Potentially maybe trying to catch these survivors off. We did see that Trail of Torment wear off, so you know Merch does know that survivors are back on the generator. Not only does Trail of Torment give undetectable, but it's an info perk. You know that they are going to be working it if your undetectable goes away. It means that they are trying to actively get this gen done. So honestly, really like a double agent kind of perk.
Yeah, it definitely is. Still waiting on the ability to find a survivor. We're going to use ultimate weapon for that. Okay, that's a hell of a proc right there. All three survivors, we have a pretty clear indication as to where they're playing around for now. We also know that the gens are still regressing. The only gen which isn't really being worked on is the one on this bottom floor, which makes sense. It's a pretty dangerous one to be doing, and the game's going to slow down a lot more when you have a killer which is often undetectable and so hard to lock down. It is not insane to play as safe as humanly possible. We have found the ace. We found Looney over here. Actually, no, not Looney. It's going to be Mansa, the only healthy survivor taking chase. So pressure on Mersh to hit a chainsaw, or again, the other survivor is going to be pretty free. And again, like, you might just be forced to take M1s.
Merch once again leaving this chase, knows that the other survivors are injured, and actually Looney getting caught off here. This isn't a Grim Embrace stack, but it is going to be a second hook stage here. And again, this music room, we talked about it earlier, not being very favorable for the survivors, and actually going for a dead hard. No, that is so brutal. The one survivor you have hooked has dead hard. Didn't get too much distance, but is able to get there in time. No, Merch, it is slowly losing his mind. This is just so unfortunate. Merch again is just forced to leave. We see Rainfall pre-leaving these comms from the survivors, doing extremely well for them. I mean, coming out from that 4K3 on the MER set, this is what we are typically seeing from Desperate. We know they're absolutely insane players, and you know, the first game just being nerves, they got it out of the way, and they're showing they're ready and they're here to play.
Yeah, and remember that bottom gen, which I said didn't have any progress on it? Now the survivors aren't just progressing 2 generators, they're progressing 3, which makes things a lot scarier for Merch, and piles on the pressure in any given chase as well, right? You know, this is a phenomenal comeback by the survivors. The funny thing about that Deadar with Looney is that chainsaw was going to miss. Merch just happened to land like a sick curve to correct it, which led into the Deadar, which led into distance. If Merch just missed as he was going to do normally, then Looney wouldn't have made any distance with the Deadar and probably would have gone down there. Now it's a dead man switch Grim Embrace angle, so for Merch it's a case of just leave that hook and watch as the survivors are forced to scatter off the generators, of course securing himself another stage, but also another kind of key choke point on the map to hold, that of course being the hooked survivor, and we've been able to intercept the unhook as well. Maybe not intercept or cancel entirely, but at least find it happen.
The issue here is, though, I believe this was Manser who came for the unhook. If Manser is hooked, we will be seeing that 4th stack of Graham come in, and 40 seconds of survivors not being able to work generators, and so Merch could potentially bring this back and apply that pressure that he was having in the beginning. We are going to be seeing that ultimate weapon come into play again, and we hear 2 survivors screaming, so we know Manser is nearby on this bottom generator, and we did see Looney run away earlier. We are undetectable, so, you know, this muffler coming into play here. We have this pallet, back to this 50-50 pallet. We're just going to be opting to break it. I think Merch now is like deciding, he's like, I just need to break these pallets and get this down as quick as possible. A curve coming out, expecting Manser to go for the pallet, but actually just hugs this wall. Very beautiful blade from Manser, and now Merch again is too far away from his generators. He needs to head back. He knows that Looney is back on this generator. That did have the Trail of Torment, and actually both of them are just kind of here watching and holding those check spots down the hallways.
Yeah, scout for as long as you possibly can if you're the survivors. Gaze longingly into the distance and see if anything gazes back. And yeah, there's something gazing back, and it has a chainsaw. Run the hell away. that being said, it seems like that hook onto Rainfall did kind of stop the momentum of the generators. Zoran was, of course, forced to come for that unhook while the other survivors were being chased and pressured as well. So it's good work from Merc here, but now you kind of need another down, right? You need another hook to get that same amount of pressure. And this one around the corner, just barely missing out here. So again, it's another quick reset. It becomes slower, but it's another resource gone. So you know, silver linings if you're immersed right now. That gen up there regressed quite a lot. Downstairs regressed quite a lot. It was at about like the 60% mark before, kicked at 40 now. So the kicks are doing their job for the time being, but of course we have to think about those regression events and when the kind of anti-3 gen mechanic will kick into play.
Now these survivors are back healed. I think we were seeing a reset onto Rain as well, but I mean now it's going to be forcing Merch to hit a chainsaw instead of going for this M1 that Merch has been going for, and we are just going to be breaking that pallet. See some scratch marks here. This gen is still regressing, so that does show a little bit of a good sign here for Merch missing the hole here and actually catching off Rainfall and just completely throwing them off guard. That is going to be a second hook stage here, and I mean in this 3v1 it's very, very difficult. One person's going to be working gens, and if someone's on the hook, you know, you have to have that rotate coming out. And actually, we catch out Looney here. That is not good at all.
Looney still has this window to play around and actually is just leaving it to try and make something, but goes down here. Wait a minute, that's a disaster for Looney. We ultimate weapon. If we're a bit lucky, we find Mansa, and yeah, we are feeling really lucky today if we're immersed. And this is how brutal Billy can be in a 3v1 situation, right? These survivors were playing like all but flawlessly for quite a long time. It took one tiny lapse in judgment from Rainfall just for everything to immediately fall apart, right? Like you can barely get this trade if you're Mansa and you're a little bit lucky, but after that, like what can you do? Absolutely nothing. And Merch even goes so far as to break the door, lead it next to the strong window that Mansa would have to turn it into a terrible window. So, you know, really good heads-up play there. 4K1 is what things will end at.
Just, wow, I mean, Merch did seem to lose it in the mid-game, and the survivors of Desperate were putting so much pressure here on to Merch. But, I mean, it does end up in a 4K1. Very beautifully played from both sides. I mean, those generators got so close to being completed many times, and Merch just able to apply this pressure. You know, they were on the same side, so it did prove pretty helpful to Merch to kind of just go back and forth between the top floor and the bottom floor. You almost think if the generators were spread out a little bit more, we could have seen some outs maybe, and all the generators being completed.
That is true, but also if my grandma had wheels, she would be a bike Snipes. But the point is, the survivors, unfortunately, it can be tough to track down like the gens. It's as I said earlier, you don't have like hard and fast traditional 3 gens on Midwich, but they can still be concentrated together, even if there's a little bit of elevation, even if there's a bit of an elevation difference between the floors. Between the gens, I should say, of course, there's an elevation difference between the floors. That's why they're called floors, silly. But the gens being on different floors, like, it's not quite so bad when you're a killer that can, you know, has such mobility to patrol between them, and they're all still on the same side of the map, so it's pretty simple for Billy to get to all of them. I was saying earlier, and it's something which I will kind of maintain, Mersh plays an interesting style. The 4v1, no issues with how Mersh was playing. Of course, you do get the 4K1, which seems to be a slightly above average result for Billy. But also, right, this is Midwich, and I'm not really a fan of the curves. Like, curves are cool, and they're good to hit, and there's a time and place to go for them, but like all of these awkwardly angled pallets with tons of debris in the way, we saw like at least like 7 or 8 instances where the survivors were able to juke the power by just running around a loop tightly, and it felt like MER could do nothing with power, absolutely nothing. So like I'm a bit surprised that we kept going for it. I feel like it's a much better play and honestly more effective, both in a 1v1 and 4v1 sense, to just zone with power, force pallet drops, and then use power to break the pallet, right? And then obviously when they're eventually zoned into nothingness, and they will be eventually if they keep going through pallets on Midwich, because that's literally all they have, then you can get very easy downs. Or in the early game where survivors were in some kind of intriguing positions on the map, and it was very easy to get downs on them as well.
Yeah, it's almost a different game if you just start zoning and breaking these pallets immediately and, burning through these resources. There were many times where, Manser was able to W key away and basically get so much distance off of a single bump. And unfortunately for Merch, he just wasn't able to land those curves. But if he were to land those curves, then, maybe it's a what if situation.
Yeah, what like if my grandma had wheels type
Yeah,
thing.
exactly,
Yes.
yeah.
Thank you, thank you, Gino, for that wonderful phrase, which I use every single stream at every single possible opportunity. So yeah, still looking at exactly how Desperate can come back from this. Recall this was the selection of Mercy. And they did get the 4K1, which is their above average result. So on paper, things look pretty good for them. But it is an AHL balanced set where, all kinds of strange, odd things can happen. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a major comeback. But I also wouldn't be surprised if we saw Mercy win this one in one-sided fashion. We've established, just off of Myers earlier, their survivors are juicers. Like, their 1v1s are phenomenal. Like, they are absolutely fantastic. And, like, if you're just able to buy time with clean 1v1s, and especially against a Billy, who, with enough confidence, oddly enough, becomes not so scary of a killer, right? Billy's power, hear me out, because I'm going to say something maybe a bit crazy, isn't that fantastic in chase. Okay, hear me out. It's the strength in Billy lies in the lethality and the mobility. Mobility, like, there's fewer better in the game. Lethality, there's fewer better in the game. But the actual, like, in-chase use of the power, especially against the Midwich tiles, is really awkward and really janky, even for the best of the best Billies. Like, even with the curves that we saw come out from Merged, they were essentially just completely blind, like, complete muscle memory, right? So Mans are going to have to try their damnedest to put up a real good performance here. And immediately, well, Mersh has been found in a pretty strong area. Even if Mansa just goes for like this immediate pallet break, Mersh is still going to be zoned in the center of the map, which is real bad. There's no reason to be fancy. Just break the pallet and move
on. Mancer is going for this and actually gets blinded for it. We'll be following up though and trying to go for this curve, just the slight debris, just sticking out of the debris is hurting both sides, and Mancer is going to be going for a fantastic curve. Unfortunately, we're not going to be landing here on the Merch as we continue to run around this pallet. Mancer now is just going to be deciding to break this pallet. We do have another pallet to the room of the left here, but with this overdrive, it could be very dangerous and actually beautiful create. I mean, Merch, the pallet greeter, we saw that in the MER set, and we're seeing it right now. I mean, this is just absolutely incredible. This is the person you want in your first chase. And now that overdrive is going to be running out, so it's going to be hard. First gen already completed. This is rough.
Yeah, that it is. And now Mansa is just changing the nature of the game completely. The first gen's been completed through Corrupt, which is a bit of a disaster, to be honest. And now, like you cannot chase Merged is what we're figuring out today. right? Because they will just be an absolute freak of nature, right? So instead we're going to utilize our mobility in the long corridors to see what else we can fish for. We're still going relatively a while without a down. I believe we're approaching that 2-minute mark with Corrupt fading, and still no down. Compare this to the 121 that we achieved on the side of Mercy's killer, and Mansa is like behind schedule quite significantly.
Yeah, although that first gen did get completed very quickly, I wonder if they were doubling or potentially even tripling it here. Thailand just not going to be able to get to this window. We'll be seeing that first down. I mean, so much time has been bought for these survivors, and especially with that Corrupt going down, I'm sure we're going to be seeing a lot of progress on some generators here. No pain res, not really any gen regression whatsoever. We mostly see gen blocking perks with that. Deadman Switch and Grim Embrace. And also, instead of Trail, we're bringing Unforeseen, which, you know, is guaranteed value, I would say.
It's guaranteed value, but hear me out. With the Apex Muffler, I think I prefer Trail. It means that anyone within the vicinity of the gen will still hear Billy's chainsaw, and, like, there's no real, like, at that point you just know, like, okay, well, I know where they are, right? Which is fine for the people that aren't working on the gen and not in that terror radius, sure. But, you know, the people near there aren't going to be caught out in the slightest compared to Trail, where everyone is caught out, like, by the fact that Trail is on until someone actively goes and stops it. So, we will see. I'm more than willing for Mansa's perk selection to prove me wrong, but right now, Mansa, if you want to catch a fish, first you need to find a fish. And it seems like all these fish are pretty damn slippery.
Yeah, and now we're back on the slipperiest.
No, not again!
Small merged, and a beautiful dodge here, and actually loses him a little bit, but there's no pallet to work with here. All Mancer has to do is just back grab this, but the overdrive is going to be running out here, and Merch with nowhere to go is going to be going down. Unfortunately, we see the second gen popping in the distance here, but I mean, still, I mean, you're playing on the back foot here. You need to pressure these generators and potentially, honestly, play for that fourth stack of Grim. Maybe try and spread out the hooks and get that fourth stack of Grim and snowball into a kind of crazy result here. 4K1 is still achievable. 4K2 a little bit harder as these generators are being progressed all around the map.
It seems like the only thing that can stop Merked is literally having nothing to work with. And even then, we're still able to somehow buy like 20-30 seconds or so. So it's enough for another generator to be completed. The survivors are playing so carefully. It's felt like it's been really hard to actually track any survivors down. If I'm Mansa, I mean, I'm considering leaving Mansa. Oh, hang on a minute. Maybe I spoke too soon. Maybe I spoke way too soon. That turns the tables of things massively. That one down there onto Bandit, who was moseying over for this unhook, but wasn't expecting Mansa to be so close by. That is disastrous. We're not going to get an unhook onto Mersh like we wanted to. Someone's going to have to come pick up Bandit, and then also probably get a heal as well. And Squirrely has to be very careful to not give any life over either.
Bandit does get picked up and Merch hits the second stage, but I mean, with how progressed these generators are, you almost just leave Merch on the hook here. I mean, Squirrely, we heard that generator, very high progress, about 80%, and I mean, like you said earlier, the unforeseen, Squirrely will not be getting caught off guard in the slightest here, and we are going to be seeing them pre-leave as well, you know. And a mind game coming out potentially, but not just trying to, you know, pressure both of these at the same time. And considering the coordination of Team Mercy we've seen, I wouldn't be surprised if we see that. Yeah, unhook coming out as Squirrely is getting chased now. Potentially a balanced landing, able to get some distance, and Mancer just not going to be ready for that. So we will be making it to the bottom of Library, and now Mancer having to go back and try and scope out some of these other generators that had a lot of progress.
Yep, that's another generator that's going to be flying by. Honestly, really impressed with how that was played by Mercy. It's not really a spot they should have been in, with Bandit going down the first time and trying to get Merged off the hook, but, you know, it's pretty fine, all things considered anyway. Bandit actually has the light, so able to get out of the area with nothing in it. Runs past the Infirmary God Pallet. Oh my god, okay, well that is some nerves of steel on Bandit there. Continuing to run. That's the kind of play that you want to make with experience. Merch is still around the hook, you know, it's a thing called Stockholm Syndrome, I guess. Runs straight into Mansa, so we'll be dying quite quickly. Want to see if at least we get some gen progress out of it for the survivors.
Now we are entering the 3v1, but the generators completed. All of them are actually completed, and so that will signify the win of the set for Mercy here. Bandit did get that adrenaline, so now is going to have to take a chainsaw instead. Won't have that Lyth to work with, as we saw earlier, but is still going to have this Infirmary God Pallet that they greeted earlier and will be crouching corner. Mancer did a good job at body blocking and now zoning him to the other side of this pillar here. And going for a curve is actually going to miss. What an incredible dodge here. But now Bandit trying to make it to the pallet. Won't be, and now back grab is going to be imminent. And now that down will be coming in. But, I mean, beautiful job from both of these teams.
I'm sorry, I just want to clear something. Do you refer to Billy hitting you with a chainsaw as a back rub?
Yes. Well, with a chainsaw, if you're like right on the survivor, I consider it.
Have you had like a proper back rub? Because I'm sure it's not supposed to feel like that. Not that I'm an expert or anything. But no, I see exactly what you mean, and credit to. This also, it doesn't just show that Mercy are a good team, because like we kind of got that impression already on the MER set, but it also means that they're an adaptable team, right? You know, like when things don't go to plan, they can still recover, and they can still do fine, you know? Like, against like, I think 90% of teams, Bandit going down while trying to stealth for the unhook is a complete disaster, and the entire team crumbles, and like we see like either 4K2 or worse, a tie come out between these teams. But no, they were able to stay composed even when the odds seemed stacked against them, even when it looked like a bit of a disaster situation. They really clutch up by splitting their survivors, one on the most progressive gen, one near the unhook, so that eventually a decision has to be made. And it was a losing battle regardless, right? Either you try and stop that gen being done and the unhook comes out, which is what actually happened, but even if you stuck around the unhook, the gen would be completed, and then you would be entering your 3v1 with only like one gen remaining, because the other one had so much progress on it as well. And would have been completed. So, like, you had no way of really getting out of that situation, so it speaks to the adaptability. For Desperate, well, I mean, the pun is right there, but yes, you are feeling very desperate right now, and I think desperation is maybe what drove you to pick Pig on Wreckers as your set, which is the first Pig that we'll be seeing in AHL. And to be honest, the first Pig that I've seen in a very, very long time.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you there, Egdar. And honestly, you typically see Pig on the previous map, Midwich. So Wreckers, it's going to be a little bit of a different dynamic, and trying to play these tiles. The RNG on Wreckers can be quite brutal for even like killers like Spirit. So I'm curious to see how Pig is going to do. And I'm curious to see if Mancer is going to be able to pull out some crazy ambushes, and vice versa on the side of Mercy. You know, the killer coming out. I'm maybe expecting to see Merch come back out, and you know, we saw him on the Myers with that slaughtering strike. It's basically a pseudo Pig now, with the churn rate being increased. The only difference is Myers can break pallets, and Pig unfortunately cannot. Maybe that's what they need to buff Pig with. You know, her ambush can now break pallets. How do you feel about that, Hector?
Ah, yes. Well, okay. Pikz dash is a dash, right? That is
It
the
is a
one
dash.
thing that's the one thing that we can be in agreement of, right? There are some opinions which are, far more popular than others, and so I can tell you it is in fact a dash. But no, I actually I think Pig needed it. To be honest, like all of the buffs to the dash, it actually makes it a viable chase tool in more situations than I get to like a 50-50 filler and I will do the dash, fake one way and go the other, which was basically the only way to use it for so long. And at any actual regular tile in the game, you're screwed. Now, was it a strong enough change to warrant going to like all the way over to Wreckers? Which is a, rather like it's a pretty good map for survivors, I'd say. There's a lot of resources, a lot of dense resources that they can chain into. But this is actually going to be the first pig that we've seen in basically a year. It was never played in Season X. It was picked a couple of times as a tiebreaker, but we never actually ended up getting to it. So, good luck. Welcome back to the fog, Amanda Young. Things have changed quite a lot since you were last here. So we'll see exactly how well you can do. Also try and make some use of the undetectable empower to be a bit sneaky, but I feel like that's it's not a bad play per se, but maybe in the middle of Shack to try and force people to run and intercept them, maybe not quite the play.
Yeah, and we actually see a little bit of a chase-heavy build coming out from Mancer, which might actually prove to be quite effective on this map. And we are taking chase here onto Elo here with that brutal strength coming in, just able to, close that distance even quicker and just kind of burn through these pallets. We are going to be going to a dead zone here. There's really no pallet in the corner of the map here, and especially with this hill, it's a kind of a dead zone. Now we are going to be taking the first tag and running towards Shack. Mancer maybe trying to catch Elo off guard here, but just unfortunately they are just going to be too focused on them. And the gen over here is actually highly progressed. But again, the communication coming in, them pre-leaving, and even the pre-drop.
There's a lot of pre-drops. There's a lot of pre-drops.
Yeah.
Is that something that we often see against Pig specifically, to try and negate the power?
It is something we do quite see, just trying to lose that 50-50 kind of play style. You obviously are more so you see like when the pigs start to crouch, you just kind of W away, expecting the ambush. And we haven't seen an ambush quite come out, Mancer trying to actually use the undetectable to catch survivors off, as Tyleon is taking chase here at the Shack. We still have Bamboozle here, and it's not revealed yet, and now it will finally be revealed. And Bloodlust coming in, a long trek around. Will it be enough? I don't think. I think they make it to the pallet.
Yep, they definitely do. Now we can, I mean, these gens are flying by, right? Like, the only way that the survivors can lose out in a situation like this is, like, resource management, getting through too many pallets in too short a space of time is really the only way that things go badly for them there. Or we can actually catch out Tyleon, not really expecting that crouch. Now we're finally going to get a reverse bear trap on. And, like, this is the problem. 237 is going to be when that first down comes out. Now things do get a little weird for the survivors. They have to be quite careful with their gens. Obviously, Tyleon's first priority is going to be removing that damn trap from their head as soon as humanly possible. So, try and avoid that death wherever possible. And for the rest of the survivors, now there's a bit of a communication call, right? Which is what happens to the generators. It's good they were able to get 2 done before the trap went on to avoid having to make that first decision. But now they're going to have to make it.
I'm curious to see, are we gonna like 99 the generators and attempt for like Tyleon to get the trap off? We are see a quick unhook as Mancer's right next to this hook, and is going to be going for this tunnel out. And I mean, with this trap on the head, I mean, it isn't active quite yet, so But I mean, it is going to be another survivor off the generator, so I'm curious to see if Mancer is going to be able to get this down rather quickly. I mean, we still have quite a few tiles here going for the mind game, actually going to be catching off Tyleon, so another down coming out rather quickly compared to the first chases we've seen. So another hook, but another gen is completed, so it is just very, very brutal if you are desperate right now. It is slowly just losing all this pressure that Mancer had.
I will say the thing is, I can't imagine Pig is like a fantastic pick. You know what I mean? So I don't really. I think that Mancer's doing a surprisingly good job right now, and I also believe the call would have come out to just bully out gens, despite Tyleon's head trap, because like Tyleon's getting like super giga tunneled out of the game. It really does not matter. We get that drop. That's insane timing.
Now with Tyleon's trap active, we are going to be trying to find some fresh hooks potentially. We see Merged, we did see Squirrely, and potentially I think we catch out. Is this Elo over here? And this gen is highly progressed. This is another very close generator to being completed. I'm curious though, these add-ons that Mancer brought, they're typically used in the ambush, and we haven't seen a single ambush. You know, Last Will increasing the movement speed during the dash, and the other add-on, which is going to be increasing the mist duration. So Elo going for a fake, but Mancer not falling for it.
Could have made the vault, but okay, sure.
But now Mancer, knowing this generator, has so much progress, has to go back, and we catch out, I believe this was Merged, yes, Merged, the Juicer, and another tag coming out. Tyleon did get the trap off, so, you know, we'll be able to be back in commission and working on these generators.
Yeah, the awkward thing is Mancer just doesn't have a 3-gen, bluntly. You know, there's 2 decently concentrated over here, but, like, this is far from a... Oh, never mind, we have one in the shack, actually. We do have a bit of a 3-gen going on. Okay, that's not so bad. So they're going to actually take a moment to reset here. I say a bit of a 3-gen because one of them is still in shack. It's not the easiest thing for Mancer in the world to defend, and... now actually chasing the healthy survivors over on the other side of the map. So I feel like this is a bit of an admission of like, I know that I'm giving up. Like, I know that I am giving up this last gen, but provided that I can like get something out of this, like maybe a fresh onto merged, then it'll be, you know, some amount of value. Very bold that we have Tyleon taking the hit, considering that you're so close to death, but I guess, again, it's a simple matter of, look, we have to give stages, let's give 1 instead of 3.
And you also have to think, you know, Tyleon, it's already been pain res, so if Merch is to go down here instead, which we do see that final generator, so pain res is completely out of the question now, but if that down were to happen onto Merch quickly, you know, that pain res could have been what made or break this set and even more stages coming out. But we are going to be going on to Merch once again. We still have so many resources here on this, and Elo coming in for take a little bit of a jump scare there, and now that gate is already being completed, and I would not be surprised if we see Squirrely coming in for potentially a body block, and actually Merch catching off Tyleon, get down, Mr. President.
Jump scare.
Get down, Mr. President. Tyleon actually can crawl to hatch here. If they get the blind off, this could be a potential just hatch play. And Tyleon is just taking the death. This is just going to be a 3-stage here.
Yeah, that's really curious, actually. Like, Tyleon definitely could have made hatch. We literally hear it right outside there, so it is a little bit of a misplay. Hatch escapes will count provided all the generators are completed, so it could have been a 2-stage, ended up being a 3-stage. Now, that is, alright, look, I'm gonna do some cope right now, because right now, things look bad for Desperate. You know, they got 3 stages on Pig, and it's kind of cooked, right? However, hear me out. This is Pig, and this is Pig specifically on Wreckers. Pig is not meant to be getting 4Ks. I don't even think Pig is meant to be getting like 2Ks. You know what I mean? So it would take Like, I wasn't expecting Desperate's killer side to do fantastically. Their survivor side, however, is going to have to do a little bit of heavy lifting here. And, you know, that we always don't account for the fact that, you know, Mersh has proven to be phenomenal thus far today, both on survivor and on killer. And, you know, like 4 stages, provided that you can just have at least one decent chase, you know, you get it down within maybe the first 2 minutes or so, and that's a win con you're actively playing around from the start of the game, it shouldn't be that hard to secure 4 stages.
No, I agree. However, though, we also have to think about that third win condition, fresh stages. You know, we get a down on the survivor, potentially getting a pain res, and then finding another survivor and just camping them to death could be just basically the win. So these survivors have to play extremely well. They do have a lot of tiles to work with, given it is Wrecker's Yard and Pig not being the greatest at some of these tiles. A lot of these tiles actually shut down Pig's power. And I mean, they have a lot on their plate here. They're down 2-0. They are in a bit of a rough spot here, momentum-wise, but reverse sweeps could happen. A little bit of cope there as well. I mean, these teams both played phenomenally today, regardless of the results. You know, on paper, it doesn't look as close as it has been, but I mean, regardless, they should be proud of how they played today.
Yeah, they definitely should, right? But again, this is how big the stakes are, right? You know, there's a $2,500 prize pool on the line for these teams. Every single one wants to get a piece of that, even if maybe they didn't quite expect to get a bit of it coming into this tournament. But it's something that I said yesterday on stream. There's no reason to play in a tournament like this if you don't at least have aspirations to get far in and to exceed all expectations, you know. So I mean, I'm not sure who to be rooting for right now. You know, I don't really want to see either of these teams go, but it's looking very much like we'll get the Mercy versus Ascent matchup tomorrow. Sorry, not tomorrow, next week. We don't have any games tomorrow. It's a Monday, and we need to work our actual jobs. It's really sad.
Yeah, both of these teams have come out here, and even in the qualifiers, not even just today, um, shown how incredible and how skillful they are. Mercy just is right now coming out on top of Desperate, which is shocking. I expected a little bit more from Desperate, but you know, there's still a set here to be played here on the Pig. They could show us some more phenomenal things, and then we could be going to the Clown, which is the next set. But that is on hold for now, as we are going to be loading into this next match. Could be the final set, could be a 3-0 for Mercy, or like I said earlier, we could be just heading into that fourth set of Clown on Wretched Shop. Merched on the Killer. 3 stages for the Tycon. 3 on 2 fresh would be the win, but still, like you said earlier, Pig Records, it's not the strongest, you know. This could be a 2 stage like we saw last game could have been. So the survivors of Desperate are gonna have to put on their juicing boots and take Merch here for a run.
Yep, that they will. Noob gonna have to be the first one to do that. And we see an early stun come out. This is yeah, I'm a fan of the build, I say. You have some passive gen regression for the most part, while you have both Bamboozle and batteries included. So you thought that the Brutal before was a chase-oriented build. You ain't seen nothing yet. Merged going to actually make use of a very fast Volt there. And the Bamboozle means that we, if we're lucky, can force a drop on Shat Pallet. We actually get the hit through the pallet there. That is a bit of a disaster for Noob. And now what happens, right? Do the survivors come in and take some hits? Do we try and mind game again with Bamboozle over at Shack? I think we will. Now we're going to be forcing a Shack Pallet drop. And here's the thing. A Pig has to fight for centimeters on a map like this. So we are still going to be calling things out. Like, yeah, the fact that we've been able to force a shack pallet drop relatively early into the game is a big deal. Really nice mind game with the bamboozle, making really effective use of this perk thus far. We try for the ambush, but we're not going to be able to get enough distance here. Window still blocked right now, able to chain in something else here, but right now, this chase still going a bit either way.
And the ambush coming out onto Noob, something we didn't see of the last match. The ambush getting close, and Manster's nearby, potentially playing for that flashlight save. So Merch will be taking that. First gen is now completed. That is going to be pretty rough here. And now with Manster injured, running towards Shack where there is no pallet, is going to have to go and take him on a run. Actually, we are seeing another survivor here, I think. No, wait, this is Manser.
I mean, yeah, it is Manser.
Oh my God.
You are stretching the limits of imagination as to what I thought the Pikz power was capable of. Like, this is not just dash slot, this is like prime, like, dash steak dinner right now that we're having. And we're going to be able to get the drop onto Manser as well. This makes things even easier for you, because you will also be able to secure a fresh hook onto Manser. And again! Like, we have just been giving survivors the roughest time. Any attempt at flashlight save, any attempt at firecracker or flashbang, anything like that, taken down. So now that we have this second hook and it's a fresh hook, we just need a single extra hook stage onto anyone. You want to sit in front of Manser's face? Do it. You want to find the injured Rainfall? Do it. You want to ego and somehow down Looney? Well, that would be a pretty stupid idea. But, you know, it's still very much achievable.
Yeah, and now we are going to be taking Chase here to the edge of the map. A very beautiful zone out coming to Rainfall, and that is going to be another hook. Looney was going to be coming in for that hit tank, but unfortunately just not going to be there in time, and we are going to be just seeing the third hook, and that is the set. I mean, Mercy coming out here and 3-0ing Desperate, who are a very strong team, so I mean they should be very proud of themselves. And just, unfortunately, another free hit coming out. Looney just trying to maybe crouch and stealth around Merch, but Merch is aware, and I mean, you gotta feel good if you're Mercy coming out and winning 2 sets that are not even your picks.
Okay, that one I'm not blaming on Water Aim, that one I'm just blaming on Merch, basically. But yeah, there's still passive slowdown from the reverse bear traps. Noob was able to get rid of theirs, but Rainfall and Manser not theirs. Are we styling this hard? Are we seriously getting ambush dash kills like at Crane? This is unbelievable. You know what, Merch? Pad our stats as best as you want to. I want to be able to screenshot that Pig has a 50% 4K rate in AHL, and then just use it to convince everyone that Pig is actually overpowered and all you guys just suck. I would be lying. I would be actively spreading misinformation, but like, that's kind of fun to a degree. Of course, big congratulations to Mercy for this win, and commiserations to Team Desperate, who will be the second team, but not the only team today leaving our tournament.
Yeah, I mean, we saw great things, and I'm curious to see if we're going to see more great things from them in the future here on DBDL. And a beautiful 50 winning, actually, from Noob. Again, it is for naught, but I mean, you can still go out with some kind of flair here. Merch just going to be camping Manser here to death. Noob and Rainfall are healthy, so we could be seeing maybe a double save, or just letting Manser die and entering this 3v1 and just trying to crank out these generators and grind them out in the distance here. And that is exactly what we see. 3 generators being worked and maybe trying to get to this end game. But I'm with you here, Egdar. I want to see a potential 4K from Pig, especially on Wreckers. Nonetheless, that would just be absolutely wild.
Yeah, why not? And with Manser dead, you can definitely make that happen. So now everything is just for the show. I think while we are here, I can talk a little bit about the upcoming matchups that we're going to see. Next up is Pain versus Vix, and then later on, Orison versus Petroleum. Should be two really good matchups. And a really nice dasher coming out as well. It almost looked like every time Merge hits a dash, it almost looks like they themselves just can't believe it. Like, there's always like a brief pause being like, wait, I did that? Or something like that. And yeah, okay. Now we're getting a bit goofy with it. We end up giving Nia a kiss, which is very romantic, it must be said, but can't imagine that mask smells lovely. But, you know, it is how it is. We're seeing what can be done here. Utilizing Dash to its fullest capabilities. But as I was saying earlier, Pain versus Vix should be a really interesting matchup. And then obviously Orison versus Petroleum. Orison versus Petroleum, who arguably shouldn't have dropped, who arguably were really not expected to drop to the lower brackets so early. But of course, upsets can always happen in AHL, and you know, there's always proof of that ongoing, right? Another down comes through onto Rainfall. You know what? Don't just get a 4K, but also get like a 12 hook. You know what I mean? Like, play as fair as humanly possible.
That would be something we are going to be seeing the second hook coming out onto Rainfall. Looney still nearby, actually, just trying to get this generator completed. And we also see Noob. They were trying to get this generator completed, but just is going to be unable to, as we are taking chase here onto the only healthy survivor. And I mean, trying to play this tile, the batteries is kind of kicking in pretty heavily as they were dipping in and out of that range. And actually, Looney's not able to get that, and the stagger is just gonna result in a down. This could be a 4K3 on Pig. What are we talking about here, Egdar?
In this economy? In this economy? No way. And also, I think Rainfall had balance there. I'm not going to talk about that swing. Had to take a moment there. And was getting actively body blocked by Noob. No way. No, we are going to see the 4K3. Because Mersh is going to hit like an unbelievable hit at this tile with the dash. And it's a 4K3 on Pig in Big 2025. Amen to whoever. Amen to whoever like. Whoever like chose this matchup and whoever put these teams together. I also feel so bad for our stats man for Loria, because like, yeah, I don't want to think about putting this in either, and being officially having a 50% 4K rate in AHL.
Absolutely wild to see. And I mean, considering it was also a pretty chase heavy build, you know, the only, you know, stopping of gens is that deadlock coming out. So like, you don't have Pain Res, you don't have Ruin, you don't have Eruption, you don't have these typical like slowdown perks that we see. We have a chase heavy build with Bamboozle and batteries, like, and once that first down came out, Corrupt is just out of the trial. I mean, congratulations to Mercy. I mean, incredible result coming out here. We saw the 4K2 on Myers earlier, and now we see a 4K3 on Pig. I didn't think it could be get better, and yeah, just incredible. Well played to Mercy, and I'm so excited to see what they're going to do in the future matches. They have that one match up against Ascent next week, and now we are going to be going into the